Hello FTF family. So a lot of you have been asking me for a while now for an in-depth look at my color grading process. A lot of you know Archer and I are in the process of creating our own LUTs for you to have, and I'm trying to perfect it, so that's still a little bit of a ways out. But for now, I'll be showing you my color grading process using White and Reverie's Timber collection. So as you can see here, this is one of the shots from my latest wedding. It was in Ohio. It was a gorgeous couple, gorgeous wedding. I was very blessed to be there. Here is the post color grade footage, and here is the raw file. So I'm just gonna toggle it on and off for you. As you can see, a lot of changes. The greens become more warm and desaturated. The whites get brighter, and the blues in this suit completely changed color. I wasn't the biggest fan of the tone and the hue of this suit, and so I made some adjustments to make it more cinematic and more appealing. So I will take you through right now my process for color grading. So for above my footage, I have two adjustment layers which I'll be using. I don't want to mess with the final edit, so I'm just going to turn this off and then apply Lumetri color to this adjustment layer, and I'll show you how to color grade it with LUTs. So it depends on the footage, but for me, I always like to add my LUT first, and so I'll go to my creative, and if you've added your LUTs properly, they'll be able to show up in your creative. I've seen people input a LUT here in your basic, but that doesn't allow you to adjust the intensity, and it doesn't work as well. So make sure to put them in your LUTs folder in your application, and then they're automatically here. So I'll go to creative, go down. We have 5 options to choose from. So let's just start with the first one, and we can kind of toggle through them using this arrow right here. There's that one. There's number 2, number 3, which has almost a faded film look to it. Number 4, more green, and number 5, more yellow. So of all those, I like number 2 the best. So this is just the LUT on and off. One of the reasons I love the LUTs is because you can apply it at 100 and it still looks great and the skin tone's looking great. But I'm going to apply it at about 72. Okay, so once that's done, I don't really mess with any of this, and then I go into my basic tab. So for the look I'm trying to achieve, I want it to be a lot warmer. So I'm going to pump in about 26 into my warmth tab. This is with it off, that's with it on. It just adds a pretty look, but as you can see, her dress is starting to become orange and not white, which I don't like because it makes it look fake. So to get rid of the orange tint, I'm going to add a little bit of green into my image. That should do it. As you can see, her dress is looking a little better now. And I'm going to make this pop a little bit by putting some contrast into it. As you can see, it just adds some depth in the shadows. And then I'm going to bring up my highlights to make it pop more, and my shadows, because if you look at his face, there's some deep shadows there. So I'm going to bring this up to about, let's say 22. And now I'm going to make her whites pop even more, like so. It's a little bright, so I'm going to bring my blacks down a little bit. As you can see, it just changes a little bit. Go all the way down, you can see what it's affecting. You can bring it all the way up, it brings your blacks up. I'm going to bring it down to 5.6. So that's with the basic color correction and the LUT right there. So that's with just the LUT, that's with my color correction. Looking better. Okay, so then I'm going to my curves tab, and with Premiere Pro 19, they changed the color wheel to this, which I love. It's so much better to use. You can adjust the saturation, the hue, and the luma all right here. I love this new tab. So first things first, I'm going to create an S-curve by raising this a little bit, and then I'm going to lower this to bring in the shadows. Again, it doesn't do a whole lot, as you can see, but if you look at the highlights and the shadows, it makes a slight difference. Like look at the bride's face, for example. Slight difference. And then I'm going to grab my greens. So this is hue versus saturation. So whatever hue or color you're picking, it will grab that color and allow you to desaturate or saturate the image more. So I want the greens. I'm going to select that and that. That's about the green scale. I'm going to bring it down. If you bring it on all the way, you can see what happens. So I'm just going to bring it down to about there. As you can see, there's a lot of yellow in the image as well. So I'm going to bring that down to there. Maybe a little bit more. Awesome. Okay, so that is with it on and off. If you look at the greens, a little desaturated, which looks a little fake right now, but we'll get to that. Now I want to warm up the greens, so I grab that same selection. And this is hue versus hue, so this adjusts the hue of the color you're selecting. So I'm picking green, and if I go all the way up, you can see it goes purple. If I go all the way down, it goes to blue. And it kind of gives you a little bar right here of what the color is. So I'm raising it ever so slightly to add warmth to my image. Just slide this over a little bit. Looks good. Maybe not as much. And then still a little too bright, so I'm going to bring my contrast down a little bit more. There we go. So that's with the saturation curves and the RGB curves. As you can see, it's making it more like a moody, warm tone, less greens, more warmth, which I love that look. Hue versus Luma is a great thing to use to just brighten something. So for example, if you want to just make the greens whiter or darker, you can do that. I don't, or at least I didn't use it for this shot, so I'm not going to do that. And this is the same thing, you can adjust your highlights and your saturation here. Okay, so let's go to our HSL secondary. This tool allows you to select a color and completely modify and adjust that specific color. So what I'm going to do is for his suit, I'm going to select this tool and grab that blue. And I like to toggle this on so I can see what I'm doing. A lot of the times with 4K footage, this setting makes Premiere Pro crash, so if it does, we will see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all the blues as much as I can by adjusting these parameters. It's coming in nice. Okay, there we go. And it's still really noisy, so I'm going to denoise it and add blur. Now I want to adjust the color. So I can turn this off so I can see the full image. And I think it's a little too blue, so I'm going to add some green to it. And so see, even just that small adjustment added a lot of color. I'm going to add more, and then I'm going to darken it a good amount. Like so. There's before and after so far. I'm going to add some contrast to his suit, desaturate it a little bit to get that moody look I'm loving. Maybe add some temperature, maybe not, it looks good. So there's the before and after of his suit. As you can see, now his suit seems to kind of match the overall feel of this scene. Last step, I go into vignette, and I just pump in about -3.3. It doesn't do a lot, but it kind of draws your focus more to the subject. So there you go. Here is the before and after of that scene. You might like that, you might not. You might think it's too desaturated in the greens. That's up to you. I usually don't go this moody and desaturated, but for this specific wedding, it matched the bride's style, and so I wanted to go with it. And as for doing that without a LUT, I won't do it actually right now. But essentially all you would do is do exactly everything I just did, except for applying the LUT, obviously. Then you'd add an adjustment layer to your footage, and then add another Lumetri color, and then another HSL secondary. Grab the greens and change them to the way you want them to look, and the other colors as well, and follow that same process. But again, I would highly recommend investing in LUTs. They're quicker, they make your workflow faster, and they add a nice punch to your image. Okay, so there you go. On to our second image. This one, I got a lot of good feedback from that a lot of you liked it. Here's the before and after of this scene. A lot changed in this one. So we're going to go through, I'm going to walk you through my process of how I made it look so much better than the original. So first things first, the lighting in this scene is very bad, and you can tell there's a lot of blue lights and there's a lot of purple lights in this reception, and so their skin tones and everything just looks kind of purple, which I hate. And so my edit, I tried to make it look a little bit more green and white, which was kind of the theme of the wedding. First, I will go into my adjustment layer. I'll grab a LUT, Use one of White and Reveries. Okay, so I'm gonna have to say I like the look of number 1 the best, but I probably won't do it more than 40%, maybe 45. So that just kind of adds a punch to the colors. And I'll go to my basic correction tab, and obviously it's way too pink, so I'm gonna pump in tons of green for it. Now that's way too green, but we're gonna adjust it. Then I'll adjust my temperature, make it a little bit warm. So that's before and after so far. So it's still a little bit too green. Now let's adjust the lighting. So I'm just going to bring this up to about 1. Let's just find out what this looks. Maybe that looks good. Highlights. Great. Raise our shadows. And it's a little washed out, so we're going to bring down the blacks a little bit. So there you go. There's just the basic correction. So we obviously did a ton. Brighten the image, made it look great. Now this is where the magic's going to be happening. I'm not going to use HSL secondary for this one and selecting his suit. I'm just going to solely use the curve feature. It essentially can do the exact same thing, just not as perfectly because of you'll be able to denoise and blur, but it still works very well. I'll show you how to do that as well. So first I'm going to add just a little bit of contrast, just a bit. Again, I won't do a whole lot, but you can kind of see it in his skin tones. Now I hate this kind of yellowy tint in the image, so I'm going to select that yellow and desaturate it all the way. Now you can kind of look, if you look at the wall here, that it takes out that kind of pea color from the image and the walls and just kind of makes it look a little bit prettier. And then his blue suit as well, it's too blue. Almost purple, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Now to change the tone of his suit, we're going to grab that same selection here. And again, you can change his suit color. Kind of funny if you delivered the video in orange. So I just want to make it a little bit more teal, like so. So look at the difference that just made. I made it go from like a purplish blue to a good aqua blue. And then since the suit looks a little bit flat, we're going to grab the blues and bring up the Luma. Maybe just a little bit. So that's the difference the Luma can make. Just kind of adds a shine to the image. Again, we're not going to adjust any of these or HSL. It looks fine. As for vignetting, I'm going to bring it down a little bit more just to make them stand out. As you can see, it just kind of focuses in, maybe 0.5. And so there you have it. That would be the look I would be trying to achieve. Here's before and here's after. Again, that's my style. You might not like that color, but to me I love it, and I would just copy and paste that and make minor adjustments on the rest of the reception footage. I'll provide a link for White and Reveries LUTs because I hope that helps you kind of get an idea of my color grading process. Here are just some quick looks at before and afters. Here's the first shot we did. Here's one of my favorite shots from the day, before and after. It's a really pretty look. Here's another shot that I loved, before and after. So there you have it, guys. Take the time, spend a few more minutes in the editing room, perfecting your colors. Don't make the colors so that they distract from the story, but they enhance the story. They make it dreamy. It's a wedding video. It's supposed to be beautiful and slow and dreamy and moody all at the same time. So spend extra time, make it stand out, make it pop, make it beautiful, and it pays off in the end. If you guys want any more tutorials or any more questions about color grading or anything with the LUTs, let me know.